The meeting of the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments Regional Planning Commission to order at 6:34 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I have to look at my flag here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and
to the republic which
for which
stands
it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Okay, Savannah Nicole, I'm gonna just need a little help with roll call. I can't.
Sure,
Want to help me with that?
of course. Chairperson Rotella, David White, Bristol.
Yep.
Kurt Bosco, Middlebury.
Present.
Lori Rotella, Naugatuck.
Present.
Margus Lon, Plymouth.
Present. Do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. Or Plymouth, my apologies. Gil Graveline, Prospect.
I am here.
Jenny Harger, Shelton.
Present.
Bob Nairney, Waterbury.
Present.
And I believe I heard Bob Clark. Was that you, Bob?
Aye.
Perfect.
Okay, next on the agenda, public comment. Do we have any public comment, Savannah Nicole?
No.
Okay, so we'll go to the next administrative business, adoption of the April 5th, 2022 meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
No.
Do you want a few minutes first before we?
Madam Chair, I do have a comment.
I'll abstain. I didn't participate at the meeting.
Okay, yes, Jenny?
I just have a suggestion for something to be documented in the minutes at the appropriate time.
Okay, all right, I'll ask for a motion and then I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the April 5th, 2022 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
under section 2 administrative items and so subsection B, I think would be a good idea for the nominating working group members to be identified, so it's documented in the record for future use. So I would ask that the names of Chairman Jim Baldwin, Lori Rotella, and Jenny Harger be added to the minutes.
okay. Jenny Harder. Okay. All right, with the what am I saying here? The meeting minutes, we already had a first and second, so now is everybody, all those approve with the corrections, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions?
Margus.
Okay, and there's no no's, correct? Okay. Meeting minutes approved. The referral reports, I'm not quite sure how we do this one. Is Keith here?
Sure. So Keith isn't here, but if anyone has any questions on the referral report, I can take them down and we can address them via email in the week.
I have no questions. I have no comments. Anybody have any comments on the referrals from the last couple months?
No.
Okay. Correspondence, do we have any correspondence?
No, Chairman Rotella.
Okay, moving on, section 3, Regional Planning Commission Executive Board Elections, the nominating group report. So do we have the report?
I have
Savannah,
a report.
okay,
Okay. As the minutes stated, there was a meeting on, at the last meeting, it was myself and Jim Baldwin and Larry Rotella volunteered to be the nominating group. We met, and actually Jim was a mandatory member of that according to the procedures. We met on May 23rd when we decided that we would poll the current officers to see if any were interested in continuing, and that was going to be done by staff. Then we met again on May 31st, and we learned the status of what the current office holders wanted to do. And so then we asked staff to contact others that we pulled from the list of attendees that would be possible officers. And then on June 6th, just yesterday, we had a final meeting to confirm the actual persons to be nominated, and participating in that was one of the persons that would be nominated for a specific seat on our specific role. So at this time, I'd like to just name the following people are the ones that the working group would like to present to the entire Regional Planning Commission for election. The first is, as chairperson, Representative David White from Bristol. As vice chair, Representative Lori Rotella from Naugatuck. As secretary, Representative Stacy Stefsik from Thomaston. And the two at-large representatives are Marcus Lond from Plymouth and Curtis Bosco from Middlebury. And that's it.
okay, Savannah, Nicole, I'm gonna need a little help with do I just ask for a motion to elect and go down each position?
Mhm.
Okay,
I would suggest that if there's no opposition, that the secretary cast the vote of the entire
slate,
group, the entire commission.
That is correct.
okay. Go ahead, I can.
We don't have a secretary on the commission right now, so Chairperson Rotella, would you make a recommendation for, or we need someone who's not
Who's
slated.
taking the minutes?
We virtually record them and our intern takes the minutes for us. So would Bob Clark, Bob Nerney, Gil, someone who's not, Ginny, someone make the motion to fill the slate as recommended by Representative Harger from the nominating working group?
I'll make that
So
motion.
moved.
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, I will ask for the votes. Ayes, no, nays. I think even if you are on the slate, we'd like an affirmative.
So you get to vote for yourself.
Sure you do. I vote aye for all of the candidates.
I vote for the slate also.
Marcus Lund votes for the slate as well.
Woodbury as well.
Dave White, yes, for the slate.
Bill Graveline, yes.
Kurt Bosco, yes, aye.
And I think we have Representative Jarzynski also on the call. Yes. Okay, perfect. I believe the ayes are carrying. Congratulations to the new Regional Planning Commission board. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, can I make a comment, please?
Yes.
I just
forget.
want to, on behalf of the entire Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments thank all those that have served as an elected official for the commission, and especially Mr. Baldwin, who held that office since 2018.
Good. All right, next up on the agenda, thank you everybody for stepping up and taking those positions also. We're on item number 4, annual meeting discussion. Number A, remarks from our Regional Planning Commission Chair, Jim Baldwin, who is not here yet, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Remarks from Director of Planning, Josh LaCar.
Good evening, everyone. Just to introduce myself, I'm Josh LaCar. For about the past year, I've been NVCOG's Director of Planning. I want to especially thank Savannah Nicole for having done a phenomenal job of getting the RPC up to its current state of functionality and very strong effectiveness. I just briefly will say that because Savannah Nicole has a bunch of other commitments, in particular in our contracted services area and providing assistance to a number of our towns with their affordable housing plans. For the moment, and perhaps for a longer term, I will be taking over as lead staff person on the RPC, which is a good thing because it gives me a greater opportunity to meet with all of you and get a strong sense of what the planning priorities are and how we can best support you. I will say that it is particularly important at this time because of 2 substantial initiatives that NVCOG is getting started on or continuing to work on, which are the Regional Plan of Conservation and Development, as well as our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And in addition, we also have an alternative transportation plan that's focusing on bicycle and pedestrian transportation planning. In each of those efforts, we're looking for a high degree of feedback and input from individual towns, from your commissions, from your elected officials, and as well as, obviously from staff. That ties together very well with my other piece of this, which is, to really encourage an interactive process where you tell us as NVCOG staff, where you want the commission to go, where we can be of assistance to you. In particular, one of the things that we're trying to do for all of our different disciplines is to add even greater level of support for municipal staff. So if you have specific suggestions or areas of concern where our staff can be of assistance, obviously feel free to let me know. Easy to find on the email or phone from the NVCOG website. We definitely are also taking a strong initiative to enhance our communications as well as our diversity and inclusion as an agency. And so again, if there's any kind of suggestion that you have as to either how we can improve things at NVCOG or areas where we can provide assistance to your towns in leading those areas, that's really what we're all about. So with that, I will let you guys get back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Laurie, you're on mute.
Thank you. All right, next we're going to do our roundtable discussion. So I see David White first, if we could start with you.
Very good. In Bristol, we actually did not have a zoning meeting last month because we had no business. However, we did have a special meeting. This is a carryover from something that started back in the pandemic. There was an application for condominiums, elderly or over 55 condominiums. Became very contentious because the neighbors in that area were greatly opposed to it. However, the application was withdrawn and it reappeared in February, I believe. It's present, the new application isn't condos. It's actually going to be, again, older than 55 housing, but it's going to be apartments, and there'll be 85 apartments spread over 12 buildings. It's stuck in wetlands right now. I'm not sure that I know exactly what the issues are, and it's not going to be presented before the zoning commission until perhaps August. The only other thing that I could possibly report on is that our city hall has been totally vacated. We now have every department spread between 2 areas in town. There are some departments that have relocated in the abandoned court building, the courtrooms, I should say, which is above the police department on North Main Street. And the rest of the departments are located in a vacated Webster Bank building on Main Street. And that's my report.
Thank you very much.
What was the need to vacate City Hall?
Oh, I should mention that.
That's what I was going to ask.
Total renovation.
Oh, that's nice.
Just totally gutting the building, and I've seen the plans. It's going to be quite an achievement.
Nice.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you, David. Next,
Welcome.
I see Gil Gravline.
Okay. From Prospect, we're still finishing up our affordable housing plan. I should say count, but that's beside the point. And we're doing a couple little small text changes for our, just fine tuning a few things for our zoning regulations. And we're working on some additional sidewalks. That's a big thing, sidewalks. So we're doing that. And that's about it in Prospect, not too much on the agenda. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Gil. And next, see Margus Lon.
We're working, I am preparing for a public hearing to enact a moratorium on cannabis uses. And that will be held on the public hearing is going to be the 23rd of this month. And I am also diligently working on the affordable housing plan. Those are my 2 top priorities right now.
Thank you very much. Bob Nerney.
Yes, like everyone else, we too are working on our affordable housing plan. We have the first draft that's going to be brought to the City Plan Commission tomorrow night. To my knowledge, I think we're the only one of the 5 largest communities in Connecticut to be working on it. I don't believe the others, to my knowledge, have even kicked off yet. But with that said, we plan to get it done. It's probably going to be maybe a couple of weeks late, but we hope to put forward a very good plan. Tomorrow.
Are you doing it in-house or are you having a consultant do it?
We have a consultant working on it. Yeah. And it's Tyke Planning and Policy Group out of Vernon. And let's see what else. Tomorrow evening we have Post University is coming in with an application for athletic field lighting that's generated some interest in the southwest section of Waterbury. It does abut Middlebury, so we have sent notice to the town clerk in Middlebury. I don't know, Kurt, if it had been referred to you or not, but to my knowledge, there aren't any homes in Middlebury that it's basically commercial fronting properties. Let's see, what else do we have? We too are going to be extending our cannabis moratorium. I think I might have mentioned this last time that the plan is to put it on the November election and have the electors decide the issue. And then in terms of current development, we're seeing a lot of downtown interest, particularly upper level office or former office buildings being converted to apartments. And I think that's very encouraging to see that. From my perspective, it's important to really grow the population base downtown, ideally with a mix of not only affordable but market rate units to try to make the downtown more of a 24/7 community. So it's exciting to see that happen.
Very good. Is that everything, Bob?
All I have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bob, I have a question. If you know the answer to it, how many apartments do you anticipate are going to be put up or will be located downtown?
Well, it's they're at various levels, in terms of the process. Let's see, 40, another 20, 60. There's another 30 units. So yeah, we're well over probably about 120 units that have been approved and are at some point of construction. But there's also more units, people looking at further conversions that haven't come through the approval process.
And you said there.
Get rid of this telemarketer. There we go. Go on.
I hate those.
Sorry about that.
And you said
Every night.
they're all at market value. I'm sorry, they're all at market value?
Yes. These happen to be market value units.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Ginny Harger, you're up.
Okay, we have applied for an extension to submit our affordable housing plan. We have passed a moratorium or approved a moratorium to accept high density apartment dwellings. City feels, the people on the commission feel strongly that we need to step back and look at the impact of what has already been approved and what is being built before we continue with accepting any further applications, to make sure that our infrastructure is adequate to accommodate everything. We did an opt-out of the accessory dwelling units, and this Thursday night, our Board of Aldermen is meeting, and we expect that they will also agree to that, which is a requirement for it to be valid citywide. We have had a number of public hearings and different, very different kinds of proposals. One was for 3-building contractor storage, retail store. And then we had an approval in July of 2021 for a 47-unit apartment building. And it happened that property abutting that particular piece came on the market, and the developers of the 47 units was able to purchase it. So they came back with for a major modification for now a 100 apartment unit. And that's off of River Road, which is the main drag from downtown Shelton to Stratford that goes along the river. We also had in another part of town off of Bridgeport Avenue, a public hearing for phase 2 of another apartment building. The first one was done and it's been up and open for a couple years now. This is a the second phase, a separate unit, a separate building for 30 apartments. And we have done a text change and for our permitted uses in our IA1 and industrial zones, and rezoned the property known as Shelton as the Mass property. So a manufacturing corporate park can be developed there. We already have had a commitment and an actual purchase of a certain piece of property from Bigelow Tea. And then we did have a gas station that we continued a public hearing on. That's getting a little pushback from the public. And the one thing that is unusual for all of the number of proposals that we have for apartments, there was one off of what we call Constitution Boulevard. And it was a mix of 63 townhouses and apartments. And it's in a industrial zone, and they went for a zone. They were asking for a zone change. And at I think the meeting before last, which was in the middle of May, the consensus was by the members of the commission for staff to develop a unfavorable resolution, and that's, we just don't feel that it's an appropriate use for that particular piece of property. We would like to keep it as in light industrial. That's it.
Thank you, Ginny. Next, I have Kurt Bosco.
Good evening. We are actively pursuing our AHP as well as the others who have reported in this evening. We have a consultant working, Hiram Peck. I'm sure most of you are familiar with him, but he's heading up that project on a consultant basis. I don't know how many other towns are getting involved in online permitting process, but we have contracted with Permit Link, a Massachusetts-based company, and they have several towns in the state of Connecticut that are already up and running. We are doing a transition. All of us are well over 60, so we're a little slower than other towns. But today we're working on the applications that will be available online, and hopefully we're going to be, I thought we were going to be up and running in January, but it's more of an arduous task, just the transition. So again, I have an intern, a college graduate. He's been working side by side with me. And hopefully we'll be, at least the planning and zoning department will be up and running very soon. Casio has an executive board meeting this Friday in Old Saybrook. We're actually back on the road again. Also our certification program, which is pretty active this year because the deadline of January 2023, where all zoning enforcement officers will be required to be certified. So we're going to have a second session live. We had 35 to 40 people go through our program last month, and next month it looks like we have a full roster as well. So, oh, by the way, I'm on the executive board of Casio, so that's why I'm giving that report. So that's about it, Madam. I don't know whether you're vice chairman or chairman, but tonight I guess you're Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Bosco.
Can I just ask her, what's the name of the company that you're using for your online permitting?
Sure. Ginny, you asked that question?
Yes, I did.
Permit Link.
Okay.
Permit Link.
Thank you.
And by the way, if anybody's considering it, and eventually we're all going to be there, the company is a per permit. They charge by permit, by number of permits. Basically, it's $10 a permit, no upfront expense. They do all the groundwork, and the fee is actually paid. It's a user-based fee. So at the checkout counter, the virtual checkout counter, the applicant pays all of the fees plus a $10 surcharge, and that's transmitted right to the company. So really, it was a godsend because, well, for many towns, there's never any money in the budget for any projects that you want to do anytime in the near future. So Permit Link, that's who we chose after a long interview process. I bet you we spent almost a year on the interviews.
Are you working with a guy by the name of Scott?
Yes. Who asked that question?
Margus.
Okay.
We have that same system.
What town?
Plymouth.
You know what? He did ask us to go on. I did check out Plymouth's site, during the interview process, and East Granby, I think was another town. Yeah, I guess once the system is up and running, it's pretty smooth. I guess nobody's going back.
I just make one recommendation, that you need to have somebody on staff in the office who really needs to know the nitty-gritty of how to fill out forms, how to fill out the application, and to walk people through. It's because you're going to find a lot of people who are, well, as we all know, is sort of like getting used to it. It takes a while, and you need to have someone who can actually does it on an often enough basis to be able to answer people questions and not be scratching their heads when they're looking at it.
Do you have
we have someone that does that. Huh?
Do you have an on-site computer for people walk-ins?
Yes, we do. But you also have people calling in because they're on their computer at home or in the office and trying to navigate the process.
Mm-hmm.
I myself learned how to get on. I registered myself with the system with the passcode so that I could actually make an application, so that I could relate to people in the beginning who were trying to log on and get themselves, the passcode, and then get into finding the property and starting to pick things. But then you get into the process of actually how do you fill out the forms, and are you able to skip items, and can you come back to things like that? And I just don't do it because I don't actually do the permitting system at all. That's what Scott does. He's the one who signs off on applications. I don't. But I do still see that people will ask that question, and you need to have someone who can really literally hold their hands as they go through the system.
Yeah, we're finding that we're not fully online yet. Like the zoning department is not online yet. We're having them fill out our regular manual forms. But again, all the forms, hopefully by the end of the week, we're going to be able to upload them, and we're expecting glitches along the way.
Kurt, quick question. Gil? Kurt,
Yes.
quick question from Gil. Is your system connected to the tax department? How do you get tax clearance for your permits? Or is that another process after they apply?
Nope. Actually, it's going to be on my form, taxes paid, and what's going to happen is she'll get an email with the zoning permit application, and she'll be able to stamp it with using Acrobat, Adobe. She'll be actually be able to say, yep, taxes are paid in full with her virtual signature.
Great. Thank
Right
you.
now, they're being emailed to her, and she emails back immediately saying, yeah, taxes paid or not. So, yeah, the way we have it in the 8-step process, it can't go any further until each of the departments sign off. Just like running around town hall getting the signatures.
Right? Until they have the baby.
Is that all, Attorney Representative Bosco?
Yes.
Thank you. Naugatuck uses Viewpoint. We've been online for our permits for about 1.5 years or so, maybe longer. So it's kind of nice because we could see the building permits that are on file for that property. Michelle in our office, the land use secretary, and also Ed, the zoning officer, he has the most of the applicants in to walk them through, the ones who cannot do it or cannot upload the documents they need to. So it is a process, but it is nice too. So, Savannah Nicole, did I miss anybody? Because I can't quite tell.
Yes, we have Representative Jarzynski from Beacon Falls, and then we have Representative Clark from Woodbury. Those are our last two.
Okay, so Beacon Falls was, what was that?
I have nothing to report at this time. Ray Jarzynski from Beacon Falls. And thank you, Mr. Bosco, for a very explicit explanation. I like the sound of that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, next we have, I'm sorry, it was Clark.
Yeah, and I don't have anything to report other than we have the system, and don't ask me who provided it. It came through at the recommendation of our fire chief, and it started with the fire department and the building department, and then eventually the rest of the land use hooked up. So we've been on, I'm guessing at least, I'd say 3 years. And our system is pretty much like everybody else's. Not exactly easy on, easy off, but once you get used to it, it's not that difficult. That's it.
Thank you very much. All right, I guess go ahead.
Representative Clark, I'm pretty sure Woodbury has OpenGov. Does that sound correct to you?
You could call it Peter Pan land if you wanted. I have no idea, to be perfectly honest with you. If it works, I don't care what you call it.
Pretty sure it's OpenGov.
Okay. And if it doesn't work, you know what you can call it.
Yeah.
But,
So the OpenGov is the viewpoint, correct? That's all we have. Okay, Lori Rotella from Naugatuck, just a quick update. Let's see, we are working on approvals for a text amendment for Blue Water, who represent Amazon. We're working with them and Naugatuck. They're kind of going side by side. They just went through planning last night, got a positive referral, and the public hearing will start in July for that text change. Once they get the text change and they do their next bit of testing, then they'll come before us with an application, hopefully, to build one of their premier sites, is what they're calling it. We have a food truck festival, another one coming up on the Green in August. Food truck and vendors of different sorts will be there. So they're going to take the Green and down Church Street. This time we're going to go towards the Y, so it'll be a little smaller area, but a different location of town. And so that's it right now. We have a retail development going in on Rubber Avenue. They're going to do their public hearing this coming Monday. And once that closes, hopefully they'll get their approval. They have all their other approvals with all the other commissions. That's about it for now. I mean, we have a lot going on, but nothing to report yet. Thank you.
Question?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Gil Grevling. Your text change for your Blue Water, what is that text change in reference to?
So they're looking to change the height of the building. I believe our regs call for 40 feet. They're looking to go up to 130 feet. So what they're doing is they're doing it at the same time as Waterbury. So whatever theirs was and ours, we're going to meet, and then both will be at 130. I forget how many floors. I don't think they're going to put in number of floors. They're changing the size of the parking spaces from I think it's 9 by 20 to 18 by 9. Just a few little changes, but they're on very specific sites. It has to be a 40+ acre site. So we're doing it for the PDD 2 zone and I2 zone, basically in our industrial park. We don't have much land elsewhere that this text change would fit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I think that's it for the roundtable. Next, we'll go to item 6, Naugatuck Valley Council of Government discussion, Public Act number 21-29, accessory dwelling units. Josh Leclerc.
Hi. So I'm going to give a quick presentation on Public Act 2129, which I know many of you have become familiar with. It's a lot of words, but I've tried my best to boil some of the key points down so that we can become better informed and discuss them. So let me just share my screen. And share. Okay. So here is a quick presentation on the PA 2129 accessory dwelling unit provision. So, I mean, just the text of the amendment is of the act is to allow municipalities to designate zoning districts in which accessory dwelling units are allowed, and provided that at least one accessory dwelling unit shall be allowed as of right on each lot that contains a single family dwelling, and no such accessory apartment shall be required to be an affordable accessory apartment. So essentially, we've done a quick review of the current affordable, accessory dwelling unit regulations for our member towns. And, you know, this is generally a more open, if you will, liberal approach to permitting of accessory dwelling units than most of the towns currently have. That's, you know, something that is certainly up for discussion on a local level, but we just want to give you the basic information about what's in the regulation. It sets a maximum net floor area for accessory apartments of not less than 30% of net floor area of the principal dwelling, or 1,000 square feet, whichever is less, except that such regulations may allow a larger net floor area for such apartments. Again, if you compare that to what the existing standards are for most of the towns, that's a more permissive standard than has generally been used in the past. In addition, the regulations of PA 2129 say that there are no additional setbacks, lot size, or frontage requirements for ADUs. No additional height, landscaping, or architectural standards, no more than one required parking space, and no familial relationship is required, which, again, if you go to the current regulations, a number of them do have the intention to provide housing for family members and have a zoning permit structure to basically facilitate that. This unusual regulation in that basically municipalities can opt out of those provisions that I just mentioned by following the steps that are outlined below prior to January 1st, 2023. Again, based on the language of the statute, there is no second chance. If you don't do it by that deadline, you're stuck with the state regulations. So basically, you have a public hearing of the Planning and Zoning Commission, or Planning Commission, Zoning Commission. You have to then, in that meeting, affirmatively decide to opt out by a majority vote, state the reasons for the decision, which, you know, certainly I think need to be consistent with a comprehensive plan, publish notice within 15 days, and then have a vote by the legislative body that must approve the opt-out by a 2/3 majority. So it's a fairly high bar, and then obviously, as I mentioned, has a strict deadline with no second chance, again, based on the current legislation. NVCOG and the RPC have to date no position on this decision to opt out or not opt out. The legislation is what it is. There's no input at this point that we could provide to the legislature. They've already created it as it is. I will just say this. I've given it a fair amount of consideration, and again, not wanting to have an official NVCOG position, but just wanting to put a couple of thoughts in front of the representatives. I think for most towns, I know I've been a CEO previously in a community in the eastern part of the state. The number of accessory dwelling unit applications that has historically come across the desk of zoning office, planning office has been limited to a relatively small share of overall housing. Accessory dwelling units have become, let's just say, a hot topic in the planning profession in general. I think largely because they provide a very contextual option for affordable and adaptable housing. Savannah Nicole has been very alert and correctly so to indicate that this is not necessarily affordable housing. The text of the act says it is not required to be affordable housing. Nonetheless, I think we can all say that, within this broader application of affordability, these tend to be at the lower end of rental units, or an option for family members or others who would otherwise not be able to live or afford to live in a town. So it does have that affordability aspect to it. It definitely, again, based on my past work experience, responds to residents' family needs. I mean, those cases where accessory dwelling unit applications were submitted, the overwhelming number were based on someone that had typically an elderly parent or other relative that needed to live somewhere. And there was the space within the larger residence to accommodate their needs. And it is true that, again, to offer a reason for not opting out, that when those applications were submitted, typically it was not a dramatic increase in the density or the traffic or anything else, associated with the unit, any more so than it would be if you had a larger family of 2 or 3 children living in a unit. To have an elderly parent basically in a unit that has a kitchen, which is the definition of accessory dwelling unit, versus not having a separate kitchen facility, doesn't seem, at least again, in my personal view, to represent a major shift in the character of existing single family neighborhoods. And, one other point to this is, for those communities that have previously had fairly restrictive accessory dwelling unit regulations, obviously there's a fair amount of ZEO time involved in reviewing and enforcing the applications, in particular the provisions that require it to be a family relationship are just somewhat intrusive and definitely time consuming to have effective enforcement of. So that's the piece of this that's relating directly to the accessory dwelling units. In addition, the Act contains clarifying language on a number of other planning topics. One of which I definitely would like to highlight, which is that it expressly permits municipalities to charge applicants for professional third-party experts. And, in particular for those communities that are smaller, that don't have a lot of in-house staff capability, to be able to get a professional traffic engineer or an environmental expert to review any of the information that's presented by an applicant, I think can be extremely helpful for commissions to make a fully informed decision. And again, that can be a cost that's brought to the applicant. In addition, the language of the Act basically clears up what review the planning and zoning commissions have to conduct. And so, factors that previously hadn't been in the statutory language, like housing disparities, soil erosion, public water supply, and renewable energy, and as well as traffic mitigation specifically for non-vehicular traffic, sidewalks, bicycle paths, and bus shelters off-site. Historically, especially in smaller communities, there's been a strong feeling of not putting development on the hook to mitigate things that occur off-site. But, given the nature of things like sidewalks or bicycle paths, it may well be that that's an element that wouldn't by necessity have to be off-site. And again, the language of this statute basically clears that as being a affirmative possibility for towns to factor in. It also includes other provisions that are basically prohibitions of what zoning can't do. So, for example, There cannot be a prohibition of operation of family childcare or group childcare in residential zones. You can't restrict access to recycling or consider those recycling bins as within a bulk calculation. It does specifically highlight that screening and buffering are permitted to be required. You cannot, and this is going back to prior legislation enacted in 2017 to just clarify what the rights of nonconformity are. So in this version of the statute, essentially it again emphasizes that you can't use a standard or time period of non-use to eliminate an existing right to nonconformity unless there's been a proactive measure taken by the property owner to end that nonconformity, to convert to a conforming use. That right of nonconformity is retained. You cannot require more than one parking space for studio and one-bedroom units. There's some additional language on parking requirements, and you can't place a fixed cap on the number of multifamily dwelling units in a community. So let me just stop share. So that's basically a quick summary. I'm going to say it's 28 pages of legislation. There's a lot in there. As you're making that decision and reviewing it with your commissions, I really feel that it's helpful to take the summer, talk to your town council, corporate council, and review that decision carefully to make sure that what you're choosing to do is the right choice for your community, and also that the reasons that are, if you choose to opt out, that the reasons that are indicated for making that decision are ones that are appropriate planning factors that will hold up if there is a challenge in court. So that's my presentation. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions or to have further discussion if folks wanted to do that.
Kurt?
Josh, there's been talk and rumblings since the inception of this these accessory dwelling units that these units cannot be calculated in your affordable housing.
That is correct.
Calculation. Is that correct?
Yes, because they're not deed restricted. So Savannah, Nicole, and I around the office have had this discussion many times, which is, relative to 830G, for example, or to your calculated housing share, you cannot use these units. They don't count. And I tried to be as clear as I could about that. It's in the statute itself, in the statutory language itself. That said, again, I think if we think about these, I don't know if the right term is lowercase a affordable, in the ordinary sense of the word, outside of zoning land or statute, they tend to be lower cost units when they are available as rentals, simply because they're small. I mean, that's they're one way to add, in particular for towns with a limited supply of multifamily housing, they're one way to add relatively smaller, low cost units.
Representative Bosco, if I may add, I'm going to check again, but I'm pretty sure there is a provision in Public Act 2129 that says that the ADUs that you do add won't count towards your denominator of total housing units. I see Representative Nerney nodding. So I'm pretty sure that the state has kind of thought about this. However, they haven't made it clear how you're supposed to let the state know about your ADUs so that they're not included in total housing units yet. So we're going to continue to watch how that's actually going to be applied. But I'll look for the section in the statute. And when I send the follow-up email tomorrow, if it is there, I'll specifically call out where it is.
Appreciate
Can
it.
I ask how many communities actually allow ADUs through their own regulations?
In the analysis we've done, about 3/4 have some statute, something in their ordinance pertaining to ADUs. So it's not uncommon.
I've got a question. Josh, your presentation seems to imply, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the ADUs are contained in an existing single-family home. And that isn't what I understand to be the case, that it permits something to be added on over a freestanding garage or something in a person's backyard. And my concern is, so the intent is it's to help out with an elderly family member.
Right.
After that person no longer requires use of that particular residential unit, what does the state say that happens to that particular one?
So that's the difference between the current language of PA 2129 and many, or not many, a significant number of the current accessory dwelling unit regulations. Many of the current regulations in individual towns have a restriction that it be for a family member. This new public act particularly singles out the fact that there does not have to be and can't, won't be in the language of that statute, won't be a restriction to family members. So that, I mean, when I mentioned that it is, if you chose not to opt out, that is somewhat of a reduction in the amount of review required, because essentially if you're not having to look for a familial relationship or document that familial relationship because it's not required by statute, then that's an easier process. I mean, let me put it this way: the legislative intent was to make it easier to have accessory dwelling units. That much is clear. If that is not consistent with the town's political will or the character as determined to exclude accessory dwelling units, that's the choice of the opt-out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very maybe progressive kind of attempt to have more affordable housing. However, afterwards, is it a very practical approach to doing it? Because you stand the chance of a neighborhood being turned into a multifamily residential neighborhood when the present homeowners particularly have come into that neighborhood wanting to live in a neighborhood that is single family units. And one of the comments that I've said time and time again that when I testified in the public hearing, because this is as of right, the way it's written, that would you like to be the homeowner that comes home one day and sees a foundation being put in for a residence behind your neighbor's house that you did not need to be notified of and have no control over any kind of comments. So all of a sudden, the whole nature of your particular part of the neighborhood changes, and that affects very greatly, as far as I'm concerned, property values.
And again, go ahead.
I would fully agree with you, Jenny. Prior to working in Waterbury, I worked in Wilton, and the community allowed both freestanding and attached accessory dwelling units. We ran into a big problem. They become a proprietary enterprise for a lot of people. And what happens is they oftentimes become susceptible to short-term rentals. Now, I know the Act states that you can enforce against that, but you're gonna find yourself in a defensive enforcement posture. I can't begin to tell you the problems we had with Airbnb, VRBOs, parties going on, neighbors just beside themselves in dealing with the issues that arose from the policy.
Mm-hmm.
I would look at it very carefully. I know in Waterbury, we're going to have that conversation with our zoning commission. I think the dynamics are a lot different in Waterbury. First off, we are single family lots. The largest are 12,000 square feet, and they go down to 6,000 square feet. We also have many non-conforming 5,000 square foot lots. If you can think of a single family neighborhood and doing exactly what Jenny described, somebody pouring a foundation, what that gives rise to in terms of increased traffic, parking the road, parking on lawns, privacy issues. I have some real reservations, with this really state mandated act.
Anybody else have any comments? No. Should we continue on, Savannah Nicole? Okay.
Let me share my
Okay.
screen again.
Well, next we have the Naugatuck Valley Council of Government updates with environmental planning update either by Aaron Boudris or Christine O'Neill. I
Sure,
believe
so-
both are here. Okay.
Yes, I would actually, we have 3 environmental updates for you today, but I would like to invite Aaron to speak first and talk about the our very successful composter sale.
Thank you. So yeah, we just concluded our second annual composter and rain barrel sale. So we had an online store where residents were able to purchase rain barrels and several different kinds of composters and composter accessories. And we held pickup events in Seymour and Bethlehem on May 21st, where residents came in and picked those items up. We promoted the sale with press releases and social media and asked our municipalities to share on their websites and in their public buildings as well. And we also promoted the sale at Earth Day events in Ansonia and in Woodbury. So it was really great to get out there after 2 years of not talking to the public directly and meeting with some residents and talking about environmental issues. So our sales were pretty good this year. We sold 80 composters and 60 rain barrels. Sales were a little bit lower than in 2021. The issues that have been plaguing all consumer goods drove our prices up a little bit, so that might be one of the reasons. And we also had the store open for a shorter time this year than we did last year. So this is all part of a NVCOG effort to divert organics from the waste stream and help our towns reduce municipal solid waste costs. About 40% of residential waste is compostable by weight. So, that represents a pretty large portion of the cost of removing municipal waste. So each composter that we sold can divert 500 pounds of waste a year. So with the composters we sold in 2021 and this year, we're diverting, if they're all being used properly, which I hope they are, we'd be diverting about 85,000 pounds annually of waste. And I know that's a drop in the bucket from the overall issue that a lot of our towns are facing, but backyard composting really does represent a cheap and easy way to greatly reduce the waste stream and help reduce municipal waste costs. And it does it without additional carbon emissions from roadside street pickups or some of the other larger efforts that are out there. So we're looking at ways next year to make it a little bit more accessible to people, to get this in front of more of our residents. We're looking at some grant opportunities that we might be able to subsidize the cost to residents. So keep it in mind. We're going to be hopefully doing this again next year and really want to get these out and in use to help our towns.
Aaron?
Yes.
Okay, I just had a thought. I'm sorry, I think. When I could picture at our recycle center, our recycle station, whatever, transfer station, maybe a sample of the composter and the rain barrel on display and information, because our transfer station is like the weekend hotspot. That's our social gathering place. It's a rather unique and very modern facility. And, I see people, doctors and lawyers and bank presidents with their recyclable items in the back of their Mercedes Benz, and they make the trek every weekend. Usually they send the husbands. But I definitely could see one on display in Middlebury next year, one of each, and information on how to get them. I think Middlebury is a real green tree hugging town. So I would imagine instead of feeding the bears with their scraps, I think they would like to, I would say that would be a very welcome option for our residents. What time of year are you thinking about doing this?
So we'll probably do it again in the spring. This year we tried to time it around, to be able to promote it during Earth Day and Earth Day celebration. So it'll probably be about this time next year again, I would think. And that's a great idea. We'll definitely be in touch, and I think that's a great idea.
And Woodbury has a beautiful transfer station too. A very, again, like social gatherings.
Yep.
The end.
So I'm happy to share our next environmental update. So NVCOG has begun its series of quarterly environmental sustainability forums, each of which is going to focus on a different topic. So this past April, we held our inaugural forum on MS4 compliance and best practices for stormwater management. You all received the flyer for that. These events have both an educational and training component, as well as an opportunity for discussion and idea sharing. We had speakers from Connecticut DEEP, Yukon Center for Land Use and Education and Research, and an engineer from the city of New Haven. We received excellent feedback from the participants, and our next forum will likely take place this July. Now, we're currently formulating the content, but we'll certainly distribute the flyer when it's prepared. And if you have any suggestions for topics you'd like to see covered, please do email me. I will drop my email and a couple of other links in the chat right now. So I don't know if these are going to work. Well, I'll give it the old try. Oh, there we go. That did work. Okay, so there's my email, and then links for the next part that I'm going to talk about, which is an exciting update about SolSmart. So as a reminder, SolSmart is a U.S. Department of Energy funded program that awards bronze, silver, or gold designations to pro-solar towns and regions. So last week, we held a very successful training on solar planning and zoning, which was attended by about 25 participants, both from within the region and actually all over Connecticut, which was exciting. We're holding another training tomorrow morning on solar permitting and inspections, and we hope to see you there. So I popped the link in the chat if you haven't already registered. We think it would be really valuable, and we hope you join us. So where do we stand in terms of progress towards our designation goal? So since we began our pursuit of SolSmart in fall of last year, we believe we've completed enough optional actions to achieve silver status, but right now we only have enough required actions for bronze, which is still very exciting. So some of those actions include creating an online solar hub with resources. And if you haven't been there, links in the chat, you should definitely check it out. We've created an interactive map of the region that includes solar metrics and of course the aforementioned trainings. So COG staff plans to submit materials to SolSmart for review in the coming weeks. And by the next time we meet, I hope we have very exciting news for you about our designation status. So thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them. SN, of course.
Who should attend the solar permitting and inspection training tomorrow? Who's the intended audience? So
sure, that's a great question. So it's actually open to anybody who is interested in it, but it is geared towards municipal staff and commissioners. So especially for permitting and inspection, really geared towards building inspectors and CEOs. Thank you.
Christine, can I ask what time does that start? I did not register and I'd like to.
Oh, for sure. It starts at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy we have speaking is, he's great. He hasn't, I was reading over his credentials and I'm like, how am I supposed to give a bio about this guy? He's trained thousands of people over the years. He's been an expert witness in 30 different trials about solar things. He's also an expert in fires that start, which I actually believe somebody brought up in one of our previous RPC meetings about dangers with fire starting from solar units. He's apparently known as the fire guy in the industry. So I think it'd be a really, really valuable training tomorrow at 10 a.m. We hope to see you there.
Thank you.
This is the link on the side in the chat, Christine.
Yes, sir. One
Okay.
of the couple of links I dropped in there. Yeah.
Is that going to disappear? Or do we have to copy it now? What do we do?
I think you do have to copy it now, but everyone also received a flyer for this via email. It was probably several weeks ago now, but I can work with, I guess if it's late, I'll just send it out again tonight, the flyer, so that everyone will have it in their inbox. How's that?
Christine,
Thank
do
you.
you want to forward along the friendly reminder I sent today, the link there, because that has everyone already in it?
Yeah, perfect. I'm happy to do so.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. And if anyone if we're all set with questions, I can move on to sustainable CT. Okay, awesome. So I am sure you are all familiar with Sustainable CT at this point, but let me just quickly reiterate. It is a nonprofit certification program that recognizes Connecticut municipalities for taking sustainable actions that range from encouraging recycling to acquiring open space to holding an Earth Day event. Over 1/3 of municipalities in Connecticut are already certified, including our own communities of Bristol, Cheshire, Waterbury, Woodbury, and as of last week, Southbury. So that's very exciting. And each summer, Sustainable CT hires fellows to assist towns with this certification process. We have had incredible fellows in the past. I know some of you have had direct experience with them. This year, we have 2 fellows, Adrian Huck and Michio Agresta. You may remember Adrian from last year. They were with us last year as well. And we're pleased to welcome Michio for his first year with the program. So I would like to invite them to each introduce themselves. Hopefully you'll all be receiving emails from them shortly, or possibly to a different person in your town offering help. And when they introduce themselves, I'd also like them to share what their favorite sustainable CT action is. So maybe Adrian, you could go first.
Sure. So hello, everyone, and thank you, Christine, for the introduction. It's great to be with you all this evening. So my name is Adrian, and I'm a rising junior at Tufts University. My major is in applied environmental studies, and I'm doing a minor in film and media studies. And my biggest passions are in climate change and waste management. And I'm very excited to be returning to Sustainable CT as a fellow this summer with NVCOG again. The towns that I'm going to be working with this summer, they've all, I've sent emails out to all of them. So please check your emails if you haven't already. The towns that I'm going to be working with are Ansonia, Beacon Falls, Bethlehem, Derby, where I live, Oxford, Seymour, Shelton, Southbury, and Woodbury. So I'm very excited to work with these municipalities. And I would say my favorite action from the Sustainable CT menu, there's a lot that are very interesting and take a holistic view to sustainability. But since I have a big interest in climate change, I would say doing a municipal greenhouse gas inventory. It does take a lot of effort to put one together, but I think it really can put into perspective how much of an impact our cities and municipalities are having on the climate overall. And hopefully, once that data is collected, they can take steps to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay, thank you so much, Adrian. And I will invite Michio to introduce himself and answer the same question. However, this is day 2 of their fellowship. So if Michio doesn't have a favorite action yet, no worries. I don't want him to feel put on the spot.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Michio. I am a rising senior at the University of Connecticut up in Storrs. And I'm a natural resources major with minors in Spanish and human rights. And kind of similar to Adrian, I'm really interested in kind of environmental justice and kind of the intersect of environmental issues, as well as, human rights issues and how, they play a role within one another. And, I am, super excited to be a part of the team and, reaching out to, everyone. And, as Christine just said, it is, it's my second day, so I don't have as good of a grasp as Adrian per se in all the actions and everything. I'm still learning them. But I'd say off the top of my head, I would say I like the aspect of like equity within Sustainable CT and how, a lot of the implementation of these programs, of these usages have to be within an equitable framework, because, I think often two times environmental stuff and equity aren't, on the same page and in the same conversation. So I think I really like that, as well as, I'm obviously very interested in, natural resources, climate change and everything like that. And I like the one about implementation of low impact development, as, I think that's really important within, creating a sustainable future and sustainable societies and everything. But, pleasure to see everyone and meet everyone.
Thank you so much. And I'll be supervising them this summer. So if you have any questions at all, obviously feel free to reach out to them directly or reach out to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Aaron. All right, at this time, do you have a question, Aaron? Oh, no, you were just waving. Never mind. All right, Savannah, Nicole, at this time, are we ready for adjournment, or do we have anything else to say?
Yes, we are, Chairperson Rotella.
All right, so at this time, if I have a motion to adjourn from anybody?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, hopefully we'll meet again in August. If not, we will find out when our next meeting is. Thank you.
Lori,
night,
can I
everyone.
just mention, I don't know who it was that wanted to know where this is, but it's Mine Hill Preserve in Roxbury.
Ah.
So if you Google it, you'll get the map.
Thank you, Jenny.
You said Mine Hill?
Yeah, Mine, M-I-N-E, Hill.
Perfect.
There's like a 2-page map on some website somewhere, and it gives the history of it and the walking.
Thank you.
trail. So enjoy.
It's great. There's bat caves there too.
Yeah. I think so. So.
All right, thank you, everybody.
All right.
Christine, I'll look
Good night, everybody.